Are bombarded with media messages. I mean, if you just think about it, you've got billboards, radio ads, TV ads, pop-ups, web banners, search engine ads, signs, direct mail. Now you get text messages. I get text messages from Kohl's because that's where my wife likes to shop, and she signed me up. And there's constant bombardment of media messages, including direct mail. But there's a lot less direct mail right now in mailboxes because of the internet and the popularity of web-based marketing. But direct mail is still statistically the king of all marketing. The downside to direct mail is it costs more than many other channels, many other marketing channels. But you've all heard the old adage that it takes money to make money, or you have to spend money to make money. And that's absolutely true. As anyone starting a business knows, there's all kinds of costs associated with launching your business. Coming up with the money to do a direct mail program can be really, really daunting. And a lot of new businesses will stay away from it because they're worried that it's going to be a failure and they're going to be throwing their money away. And I've done a lot of mailings for new companies, small businesses, in the interest of helping them increase their sales revenue. And it is absolutely a good thing to do. It works. It's successful. I could show you dozens of research papers and statistical analysis of campaigns I've done. It absolutely works if you do it right. And that's the problem. A lot of people, they're on a tight budget and they do something, they think it's going to work, and they don't put a lot of thought into it. They don't put a lot of planning into it, and it ends up being a failure. They get a dismal response rate, and in the end, they've thrown away a lot of money. Direct mail is great for doing prospecting, and well, you've probably already all read that by now. So I'm going to try and speed this up. I know I have about 20 minutes, so I'm going to be breezing through some of this stuff just to kind of keep it moving. But one of the absolute best things about direct mail is that there's no other marketing channel that allows you to target a very, very specific audience. With direct mail, you can target exactly who your best possible prospects are. And that's incredibly powerful. So you don't have to spend a ton of money doing a mail piece to people who aren't good prospects. You have the ability through the demographic information available through list brokers. You have the ability to mail to specifically who your best target audience is. There's all kinds of other benefits to direct mail. It's personal. It gives you a lot of space to convey a message, depending on what type of mail piece you're doing. But probably the biggest things are direct mail really is a science. I mean, marketers have been doing it for at least a century, and testing and retesting and testing again. And when I say it's like a science, it's because the results are predictable. And one person who's done it, somebody else can duplicate those exact same results. So it kind of almost follows a scientific method. It has endurance. There's been MRI studies that have been done on the human brain when a person is shown a printed message as compared to a digital message. And it's a fact that printed messages activate a deeper region in the brain than electronic messages. So it has endurance. People remember printed messages longer than they remember digital messages. It's always been good for acquisition. Direct mail has been a great way to introduce new products and new services, and that's precisely why huge companies like Google and Microsoft utilize direct mail. Every big ad agency has a direct mail team, direct mail department that specializes in producing the direct mail for their clients. It has impact. It has importance. So, like if the IRS needs to notify you of something, guaranteed they're going to send you a letter. If a bank merges with another bank and the account holders have to legally be notified like 30 days in advance of that merger taking place, guaranteed it's a letter. Letters have importance. People open letters. And the best thing is sense. Direct mail, with the new technologies, you can do so much and utilize all 5 senses with mail pieces that have texture and scent and the touch, the feel of the paper. There's so many applications that can be utilized. The options are really wide open. Here's just a bunch of statistics. I don't want to overwhelm you with that, but if you think about it, I get probably 100 plus emails a day. First thing I do when I get into my office every morning is I go through my emails and I delete. Probably 1 out of every 5 or 6 has some kind of relevance to me that I actually take the time to read, and the rest I'm just deleting. People will change channels, change radio stations to avoid ads. People will use pop-up blockers, and the popularity of the do not call list. There's all these ways that people avoid being exposed to advertising. Well, with direct mail, if you can send a relevant piece to the right target audience, you've got a really good chance of them paying attention to that and reading it and even retaining it. Oh, by the way, the average response rate for 2012 was about the same, about 3.4%. The statistics haven't come out yet for 2013, but when I'm saying the average response rate is for a letter, and that number is actually, it looks artificially low to me. It's because there are still some marketers that send huge mass mailings out and just blanket whole entire zip codes. And the response rate for those types of mailings is usually about 0.5%. Whereas well-planned, carefully targeted mailings, you can get response rates much higher than that.
Can you go back to the previous slide? I didn't understand your last statement there, the 18 to 34 preference.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah.
Last time I did this presentation, it was specifically to a group of healthcare marketers.
Yeah, so what are you saying?
The 18 to 34 preference is 2 to 3 times higher to get information about healthcare products. Say a company that wants to get young adults to enroll for health insurance, for example. That demographic is actually more interested in receiving that information in the mail in a printed form than online through other mediums like social media.
Is that the age group, 18 to 34?
Yeah, that's the actual age group. For that, just for that particular, the 18 to 34 group, especially the people who are now in their 20s are called digital natives. I love that because they have grown up in the electronic age. And my son is 20, and he's a perfect example. He is so high-tech and so savvy, it blows me away sometimes. And but even he is interested in what mail he gets. He goes and he checks the mail. If I haven't gotten it, or my wife hasn't gotten it, he'll go get the mail, and he'll check, and he'll see what's in there for him. And as he gets older, more increasingly, he's finding things for him. So marketers are very savvy. Marketers know that age demographic will respond to direct mail. Slightly lower response rates than, say, seniors, who the response rates are quite a bit higher for seniors for direct mail. The best response rates, by the way, are for really highly targeted, highly personalized mailings to a very, very narrowly defined audience. And especially if you're sending something that's dimensional, like a parcel or a box or those, I mean, it's a guarantee it's going to get opened as opposed to just thrown in the trash. Whether or not they act on it depends on how good the offer is. Good direct mail should make an emotional connection with the recipient. If you can create an emotional response, you're much more likely to get the person who's received that mail piece to respond to your offer. You have to get the right message, the right offer to the right people, and timing is important too. Design elements like, what type of mail piece you're going to use. We'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes, but it's not really as important as the list. There's a kind of a general rule of thumb in direct mail that there's a 40-40-20 rule. 40% of the success of your mailing will be derived from the quality of your list. 40% derived by the quality of your offer, and 20% based on the design of the mail piece. I actually think it's more like 50% list and 50% anything else. The list is just so important. If you send a mail piece to the wrong audience, you're just throwing your money away. For example, it would not make any sense at all to mail an offer for feline products, for cats, to dog owners. I mean, why on earth would anyone do that? That's just you're just throwing your money away. So, getting your list. I mean, you can do everything else right, but if you mail to the wrong group of people, you're not going to have any success. You have wasted a large amount of money.
So what do you think about direct mail as a branding tool?
It's an outstanding branding tool. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple minutes. The right list, I mean, you're talking about demographics, geographics. There's so many demographic criteria available that marketers can use. When I'm sourcing lists for my clients, there are literally hundreds of different demographic criteria that I can select from to help narrow down the audience for my clients. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find them more of who their best customers are. So if you know who your best customers are, you want to duplicate those people. You want to sell to those people or offer your services to those people. Those are the most likely candidates, the people most likely to buy. But we look at age, gender, income, hobbies, all kinds of public information that's available, home ownership versus renters, car owners. I mean, any kind of list you can imagine, it's out there. The amount of information that's available to marketers is astonishing. And I spent a lot of my time just going over defining an audience with my clients when I'm talking to them about launching a direct mail campaign. Because that's, in my opinion, that's the most important thing. And I always want to make sure that my customers are going to get a good return on their investment. So thinking about your audience, who is your audience? Obviously, you have to figure out how much money you can afford to spend. And doing mailings isn't cheap. You can do Facebook and you can do Twitter. You can do a lot of things basically for free. And then you talk about marketing and spending some money, and direct mail is definitely more expensive than other channels. But you can predictably get a good return on your investment if you do it wisely and put some real thought and effort into it. Statistically, by the way, companies that have, in times of recession, companies that increase their marketing budgets also increase their market share. And that holds true also during times when there's no recession going on. The companies that have the biggest market share tend to have the largest marketing budgets. The message, I mean, depending on what type of mail piece it is, if you're a little retailer and you want to do a coupon mailing to stores in, say, or to consumers, residential addresses in say, a 2-mile radius of your location, a postcard is usually a really good way to go, really inexpensive. If you have a lot of information and an expensive product, like if you're doing business to business, lead generation, you might want to use something a lot more involved, like a brochure. It's a lot more to talk about than I have time for right now. Just for those who don't know, mailers get their clients discounted postage rates by preparing the mail for what's called automation. We use the intelligent mail barcode. We run the list through CAS, which is a coding accuracy and standardization program that is required by the USPS, and we run it through against the National Change of Address Registry. We do a lot of address hygiene to clean up the list, to make sure that it's the maximum number of pieces are mailable and deliverable. And by doing that, we get discounted postage for our clients. So the average for a first-class letter, the average postage is about 37 cents a piece. For standard mail, which people call snail mail, the average is about 26 cents a piece. And actually, if you're mailing just locally within your own area, delivery time on standard mail isn't 7 to 10 days. It's actually more like 2 to 3 days, maybe up to 5 days. Nonprofits, it's insane for any nonprofit to not have a nonprofit permit to mail at nonprofit rates. Because they can, I've gotten postage rates down to 9 cents a piece or even less than that for nonprofits. So if any of you are nonprofits, you absolutely should get a nonprofit permit. Some of the great things about what you can use direct mail for, and you mentioned branding. Direct mail is a great way to drive traffic to your website. Otherwise, how do people find your website? How do they know about it? I mean, search engine optimization is also important, but it's really challenging to get your results into the top 10, say, for if you do a Google search. You have to constantly be updating, adding content to your website, posting new content to your website. All those types of things, you have to do it over and over and over again in order to move up in those search engine rankings. So using direct mail is a great way to drive people to your website. Also, we've done a ton of mail that use personalized URLs. So the mail piece will have a web address with the person's name in it, and it will, if they enter that into their search bar, it'll take them directly to their own web page where an offer is specific just for them. You can use email to raise awareness and build anticipation. You can get people excited about the upcoming mailing so that they're actually looking for it in their mailbox. And I could show you, if anybody's interested, by the way, afterward, I'll give you my card, and if you want articles and stuff, I've got so much content that I can send you, statistical facts and research studies, and there's just a wealth of information available about it. But I'd gladly send information to anybody who's interested in knowing more. Do I have time for one question? Sure. Or does anybody have any questions? Yes.
So when you're talking about the statistics on direct mail and response rate, is that broken down by industry, or is that just everything?
Yeah, it's broken down by industry. There's actually the Direct Mail Marketing Association has a statistical fact book that they publish annually that is just loaded with, I mean, it breaks down by industry, by mail type, by class of service, but it's really, and we get a copy of that every year, and it's. It's a statistical fact book by the DMM, Direct Mail Marketing Association.
With what you said about lists, is there any place in your mind for like an EDDM program?
Every door direct mail? Well, you can get that right through the post office. You just go to the USPS and you can, there's actually no list involved in EDDM.
I know that, but do you see that as an option?
Every door direct mail is an option if you have a product or service that's applicable to everybody. Because what you're doing is you're blanketing by individual carrier routes within a zip code. You're blanketing every household in that carrier route. And so as long as you're sending something that's relevant to like all homeowners, then it makes sense to do it. But the post office does have they do have some rules about every door direct mail. For example, it has to be a flat size piece, which costs more to print as opposed to letter size pieces. And there is no list involved. It's just, but it has to be prepared. It has to be prepared for submission to the post office. And
Eric, do you not do that for your clients? You don't do EDDM?
we do, but there's no point in doing it, in my opinion. It's, you know, I can target.
So it's saturation mailer.
Yeah, we do saturation mail all the time, but I I would tell a client, do a saturation mailing before doing an EDDM. Yeah, I'm glad you agree.
Any more questions? Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Good job on short notice.